Edwina's going to be the speaker. Edwina's going to be our first speaker. And first, I want to say, happy birthday, Edwina! Woohoo! It's her birthday, and she's here with us tonight. That's what an incredibly special person she is. I first got to know her when we fortunately won some kind of a raffle or auction to go down to her project in Panama. It was the Azuro Earth Project, and what she did was reforested without chemicals for huge swaths of land down there. She's a landscape architect. She's had her own firm for the last 40 years out here on the east end of Long Island in Springs. And she is the inspiration for everybody out here doing great things, shifting from standard landscape architecture to native plants and pollinators. Her organization, nonprofit, was called the Perfect Earth Project. And she's got booklets and everything else. And more recently, she's done something called 2/3 for the Birds. And she'll be talking to you about that. She also, just a few weeks ago, was over in Hampton Bays doing a talk about landscape as therapy. So she's a really special person. I feel so happy to live in the community where she influences so many of us. Edwina, thank you very much for coming and talking to us.
Thank you, Dar. Well, I've been so impressed to see what you've done with Carbon Crew, because I remember when it was just like a little gleam in your eye, like Perfect Earth was for me. And here you are. And thank you all so much for joining me tonight. So let's see. I need the screen share.
There you go. So right at the bottom of your screen, Edwina, you should see a share button in green. If you click that, it'll share your...
It's not working. It says host disabled.
No, hold on. Let's get you.
Yeah.
No. All right. Bear with our technical challenge.
Okay.
Second, let's see.
Okay. Now it says I'm the host now. So maybe let's see if that works. Let's try it again. Here we go.
There you go.
All right. Are you seeing that big bar at the top?
No, we just see your yard birds and healthy, safe habitat.
Okay, good. So I don't know what that, I'll just get rid of that. There we go. Okay, well, thank you. So Dar asked me to speak specifically about one of our Perfect Earth initiatives, which is called 2/3 for the Birds. So everything we do is focused on how to become a participant in a massive restoration of the Earth's lands, which are being damaged by the way we take care of them, or rather not take care of them. So let's see, which way is this going to go? There we go. So as you may probably have heard by now, we're in the midst of a massive biodiversity collapse, and birds are really excellent key indicator species. If we have healthy bird populations, that means we have healthy insect populations, we have healthy plant populations, and so that chances are everything's doing well. But it's not doing so well. So in the last 50 years, we've lost about a third of our birds. The thing that's surprising to a lot of people is that the birds that we've lost are not rare and exotic birds. They're backyard birds. They're the birds that share the same habitat with us, and we're losing that habitat because when we take over, when humans inhabit a place, we don't really think that primarily about creating habitat for birds or other living things, and we tend to erase the opportunity. So the two biggest drivers of the loss of birds is loss of habitat and the use of pesticides. This is, of course, a really obvious example. This is easy to see. Not much for birds here. But people might think that this looks like, well, this is a fine little place, but not so, because this there's really not much for birds here either. This is a property that could not stay like this a second without massive infusions of noise and poison. And because if those trees grow, the plants underneath can't grow. The lawn is suspiciously monocultural and certainly not a leaf on it. And everything's getting pruned and taken care of in a way that would not be a happy, quiet place for a bird to live. And so basically, what do our properties do these days? Like, what's the problem here? That there's so much of this, and there's so much of this, and there's so much of this, and this. And this is what landscaping looks like these days, all about control, not much about life. And this is also really very, has a lot of impact on the climate as well. There's a lot of methane produced and a lot of large footprint activity. So what we don't see in the common conventional landscape, we're not seeing this, and we're not seeing this, and certainly not seeing this. So that means we don't see this. And so during COVID, when we all had a lot of extra time on our hands, I got a copy of Doug Talaby's book, Nature's Best Hope. And in it, he says, because everybody was feeding the birds, and everybody was talking about the birds and everything during COVID. And in it, Doug's book said that if you have 2/3 native plants in your yard, that you can support a healthy bird population. And that means that you've got enough caterpillars. He did it based on studying, actually counting caterpillars, and how many caterpillars a chickadee would bring back to its nest to raise a nest of young. And that was about 6,000. So if a chickadee is going to have a really stable population, you need 2 or 3 nests a season. That's a heck of a lot of caterpillars. And they can't be that far away, or the bird will just wear itself out going back and forth collecting all those caterpillars. So I got thinking about that and thinking about, okay, 70%, he said 70%. And I said, well, 70% is close to 2/3 and it rhymes with bird. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to make an initiative to encourage everybody to think about, for every 3 plants you buy, why not make 2 of them native? But there are plenty of other things that is all connected to that. So why natives? Because they provide safe habitat. What is safe habitat? Food, shelter, and water. So how do you provide food? Well, there's the predictable ways. This is our native sambucus or elderberry. And you'll never get those berries because the birds always get them first in my garden. I don't know how that's not a picture of my garden. My garden is stripped instantly. But I do have these viburnums. But so these are the things that are easy to guess, but there's also tremendous food sources. Like right now, my staghorn sumac is in fruit, and the birds just love it. So there are lots of ways you can feed birds that are not predictable. And one of the things that people don't realize is that bird feeders don't really sustain birds. Bird feeders sustain people. Bird feeders bring birds closer to people so people can get to know the birds, which is a really great thing. But you don't have to worry if you go away and you don't fill your bird feeder, because it's really not what's keeping your birds alive. This is what's keeping your birds alive. Leaving plants standing in the winter. So oh, I forget. Wait a minute. I'm forgetting what this plant is. It's Gora. Anyway, it's the wild Gora. And so like they're big ungainly stalks, but if you leave them up, but I mean, this is the master himself, Pete Outdolf, and this is what it should look like in the winter in your garden, not chopped back. This way there's plenty of seeds, and not only seeds, but insects will be living in those plants in the winter. And no, birds don't eat leaves, but that's an indicator that this is a good bird habitat because caterpillars eat leaves. And if you see caterpillars on your trees and you decide that you should call somebody in to spray them, that person is going to tell you they have to kill everything, and they don't, because leaves evolved to feed caterpillars, and caterpillars can eat the entire leaf, all the leaves off of a tree at least once in a season, and they'll usually come back. But typical is anywhere up to 10 or 20%. The tree won't even notice. That's what it evolved to do, because when you've got this, then you've got this, the good old chickadee. And there's so many other insects that people automatically kill. And I don't know how many of you know what this is, but it's the larval form of a ladybug. And ladybugs eat aphids, but so do birds. And if you kill them, all of this system goes out of whack. It's a really beautiful system of the food population rises, then the predator population rises to meet it. But if you kill the food or the predators, which you're going to kill, if you spray, you're going to kill both. So the whole system just continually resets, and you keep buying spray. It's a very good business for the spray people. And so another surprising place that is kind of like the real bird feeder is this, for instance, this walkway of wood chips. Birds are always in there scratching around, pecking on the beetles. Another great thing, this is up at Garden in the Woods, the garden of the Native Plant Trust. Birds love to scratch around in leaves. So everybody's saying leave the leaves. There's so many reasons why to leave the leaves, because the leaves harbor a huge insect population in every state of their evolution, you know, from larval forms to their eggs, to chrysalis, young insects. So birds are always, like, if you walk through the forest and you stop and listen, you'll hear them in there scratching around. And you can create habitat for insects on your property. This is a guy named John Little in England, and he does this, and he creates bee habitat, but the birds will come and peck in there and eat them too. And I have old log walls, because one of my things that we at Perfect Earth ask people to do is to keep all of their biomass on their property, so that nothing on your property, we call it the perfect circle. So it's like the circular economy. And so, oh dear, where did that go? So that the idea is that all of your biomass is simply fed back into the soil. And then that's this food it made for itself, all of your plants. And you don't have to buy anything then. You don't have to buy any fertilizer. You don't buy mulch. You don't buy anything. No foreign material comes into your property. Nothing in a plastic bag. Nothing that requires a gas-powered engine to get it to you coming across the country. And nothing that might contain some invasive seed or anything that isn't really of your place. And so then part two of the habitat, the safe place for your birds to live, is shelter. Where did birds live before they had bird boxes? Before you were there to build bird boxes, like, where did cavity nesting birds live? Well, they lived in trees. They lived in tree cavities. So we promote safe snags. So a snag is a dead tree, a standing dead tree. Anywhere you could on your property to leave one standing, we strongly recommend it, because they fill with insects, they fill with cavities for birds. They have this extraordinary life after death, so to speak. And then they fall in the soil, and they have another whole life as they are taken back into the soil with billions of organisms, and more insects for the birds. And so one of the things that's really trending in gardens now is habitat piles. And so all the twigs and all the things that fall out of your trees, you can stack them artfully. This is at Chanticleer Garden outside of Philadelphia, a wonderful, wonderful place. And birds are like wrens and things just love these piles. So I have a very modest version. I call it my wren tent, because there's twigs falling out of these cherry trees all the time, and people don't like cherry trees. They say, the native ones, because they say, oh, they're messy. they're wonderful. And so my dog and I walk by this every day, and we stack the twigs up, and then there's a little wren that's always popping in there because to get away from us and nibbling on the insects inside. So that's my wren's tent.
Mhm.
And the other thing that I once asked John Fitzpatrick, who was the guy from the Cornell Labs. I hope you all have the Merlin app. And if you don't get it, it's free and you can identify birds by their calls. But I said, well, so what's the absolutely best thing that people can do in their yard for birds? And he gave me a wonderful answer, which was thickets. So it's planting shrubs densely and leaving them alone, because he said the wingspan of a small bird is exactly suited, since they evolved together, to the spaces between the branches of shrubs. If you go whacking away at your shrubs and you open them up, that bird may lose the shelter that it achieves in that shrub from a predator. Little birds flit through wild shrubs. So these dense thickets of shrubs are really important for birds. Do not take deadwood out of your shrubs. That's where the insects live. And do not open plants up. The idea of opening up a shrub really comes from the agricultural world for fruit production. It is not doing anything for your shrub. And it's kind of like you have better things to do with your time. Every cut is a wound. So don't hurt your shrubs and leave them as sheltering. So this is just like, can you think of it as what's happening in the wild and try to mimic that? And because what's happening, nature invented beauty. So you can't really go wrong. And number 3 is water, food, shelter, and water. So provide bird baths, you keep them clean and not too deep. So this little finch used to come every day, and it really likes this bird bath of mine because I put gravel in it, because the way it was made, it was just too deep. And this way it can hop around in there. And I have a bunch of bird baths, and all sorts of things show up for my bird baths. You never know. And I finally, a couple of years ago, built my little dream, which is a pond. It's lined with clay. I don't do plastic. And I even have a pair of ducks. It's tiny, but everything loves it. And so this way I know that unless it's frozen solid, there's water out there for the birds all winter long, which is really important. That's like the main thing in the winter. More important than putting out seed is really putting out water. So the only time I have to worry is if it's really frozen solid. But even on a warm day, the sun melts it around the edges, and I'll see birds there pecking around. So basically the whole concept is to try to pack your place with native plants, because that's 2/3 for the birds, and give them plenty of places to find cover, and of course water. And you can go literally wild. And this is Refugia. They are a company outside of Philadelphia that's doing really amazing work. And there's any opportunity. I did this. These people thought when I designed their pool that it would have a lawn around it, and it didn't. Not quite, but it has a flock of birds. And so what we ask is there are 3 things that you might hopefully do for your property, not just really only for the birds, but for the environment and for yourself, for your own health, for environmental health, and for the future of the human species. So do not use pesticides and fertilizers, because first of all, they kill the insects that the birds depend upon. There is no such thing as a safe pesticide. Organic pesticide is really a contradiction of terms, because if it's killing pests, it's killing insects. If it's an insecticide, it's an insecticide. So even if it's made from cedar oil or something, it's going to kill butterflies. It's killing insects. So may not be as bad for your dog and your kids, but it's not great for your pollinators or for your birds. Then closing the loop, trying to keep everything on your property, all your grass clippings, all your leaves, everything. We have stuff on our website all the time to give you ideas of what to do. We just putting up pictures of leaf baskets now, that you build baskets out of twigs and fill them with your leaves. So you can actually have a leaf pile in your front yard and feel kind of proud of it. And of course, plant natives. Natives are fantastic because they do not need fertilizing. They do not need watering once they're established if you put them in the right place. And they don't need pruning. Most of them don't need staking. And what do you do with all that extra time that you don't spend doing such thing? You get to learn your birds, get to know the insects. That's my goal. So keep the birds in mind. Thank you very much. Okay, so now what do I do now, Dar? Do I leave this up or?
We can, Edwina, we could have some Q&A, but that was just awesome. Just awesome. But yeah, we would love to open it up for if there's any questions out there. Dar, you're muted. I know it looked like you were trying to chat there, but we'd love to see if there's any questions for Edwina. This was fantastic.
Rena, this is Joe DiVincenzi, and I live in Sag Harbor. I've had Lyme disease 4 times. One of the things that you were talking about with leaving leaves on the ground. What's your take, having lived on the East End, I'm sure you've probably had it, and most people have. What's your take on how we deal with the tick issue related to leaf litter and overall, not spraying, but how do you deal with the ticks?
Number one, I'm very careful about watering because ticks, the biggest threat to a tick's life is dehydration.
Yeah.
Ticks cannot dry out. So they will come out of leaf litter and the grass to come and seek quest, as they say, for a blood meal. So I avoid, unless I'm fully suited up and sprayed, I don't walk around in leaf litter. But spray yourself, check yourself is the only way to prevent tick infections. It's the only way. There is no scientific evidence that spraying will reduce the incidence of tick-borne diseases. It doesn't. They think it might be because when people spray, they get less vigilant, because checking yourself every day is absolutely essential.
Yeah.
And I wish it weren't so, but you are the manageable real estate. So spraying your entire property is never going to kill all the ticks. So it's really not a secure method. And it's very, very damaging to particularly our firefly populations, which on the East End are really plummeting. So I wish I had a better answer, but there's all kinds of wonderful things you can take. So get that fragrant oil and put it on your body instead of on your bees.
Well, I just wonder, with climate change, I wonder if, although we're not getting the die off in winter because the winters are not cold enough, I'm hoping that the intense heat of summer is going to do what you said, which is one of the keys is the drying them out. So I wonder if the excessive heat might do what freezing used to do for 5 consecutive days of cold weather. Anyway,
Ticks are very prevalent in the deep south, so
Yeah.
I'm not going to count on
Yeah.
that. They're just not that easy to answer. But
Well,
the way they used to be because they burned off, even either there were uncontrolled fires. It's a combination of controlled fires that and now we don't do controlled burns. And that was really one of the major reasons why when I was young, that there were not so many ticks. That it took a long time for them to come back from the times when their fires were not so carefully prevented.
Hmm.
But now we've got them. We also have, and also what happened was hunting laws changed and also hunters changed. So we have a predominance of deer,
Yeah.
too many deer. And because of the changes in the way forests grow without fire, we have not enough deer predators.
Hmm.
And so the whole system is a little skewed.
Yeah.
I don't really have a great answer for that, but nature, you know, if you live long enough, it might take, you know, we think in terms of the human lifespan, and nature thinks in terms of much longer periods. And so eventually it's going to work itself out. But in the meantime, a lot of people are getting very sick, and it's not fun.
Yeah.
Thank you.
A question from Jeffrey. He's got his hand up.
Yeah, so a continuation of the tick issue. So what we've done out here, we're in the West, which is not nearly as bad, but we wear permethrin permeated clothing. And also I have heard that it's possible to deal with the ticks, at least in part, by putting out cardboard tubes or tubes with cotton that has been treated with permethrin. I think that the mice will then use that to build their nests, and it will kill the ticks, and it interrupts that life cycle. Do you know anything about that? Is that considered effective?
That's Daminix is the commercial brand, but you can make your own with like toilet paper rolls and cotton, and buy some permethrin and put it in. People, it's, you know, all of my evidence is like just circumstantial of people saying that they think it works. I tried it for a while, but I think you know, it's hard to separate. First of all, I don't do tick population surveys, and depending on the rain and so many other things, and now I've fenced part of my property so it doesn't have deer. I am noticing fewer ticks inside the fence after a few years. So it's very hard to say. There's also now they have things that are called tick boxes, and which is a similar thing that the rodent goes through the box and gets wiped with a bit of permethrin, which are supposed to be the most, but they're, for reasons unknown, they're outrageously expensive and hard to get. So, but still, no one, the Carey Institute for Ecosystem Studies up in Millbrook, they're the ones who've done all the tick research, and they still say there is no better prevention than spraying yourself and checking yourself, that they wouldn't recommend anyone relying on anything else.
Great. Looks like Caden has a question for us.
So my question is, like with this like sex issue, like what is something that like the community can do, right, to like prevent the prevalence of ticks? Because like as you said, it's an issue that is very common. So what is something that like you know, the community can do like to prevent the issue of the ticks? And also what are some of like the benefit and strategies you know, we can implement you know, as youth in the community?
Well, proper watering. People water every day. They have their irrigation system on every day. Your landscape has to dry out. It's bad for your plants and it's bad for your ticks. The other thing is that really question the sources of your information. There's a tremendous amount of fear that's being spread by tick spray companies and by tick spray people. Now, I know people who've had Lyme disease, it is not like something to be taken lightly. But at the same time, the fear-based over responses are driving a lot of commerce. So everybody, like, it's really a very the ticks have brought a tremendous like lucrative opportunity to the world of everybody involved with them, except those, even the ones who are getting sick. It's like it's a major business now, and I can't do a talk without spending most of my time talking about ticks. And all I can say to people is spray yourself, check yourself. I had Lyme disease, and ever since I got, started getting responsible for myself, spray myself, check myself. And when I'm in the garden, I tuck my pants into my boots. I spray my pants, I spray my boots, and out I go. And then I check myself when I come in, and I take a hot shower and I scrub them off, and I check my dog, and it's a pain in the butt.
Mhm.
But that's the way to do it. So if you want to help people, tell them not to spray. They are crashing their insect populations with spraying and not necessarily, and they're not reducing the incidence of Lyme disease. And most of their information may be coming from the guy going door to door, which is not really allowed, trying to sell them tick spray. And I've had people basically practically want to like attack me. I don't care what you say. I'm protecting the lives of my children.
Mhm.
I don't know what to say. You
Yeah.
know, the fear is never the right place to come from.
Yeah. Edwina, real quick, just shift gear on this. You had mentioned a few, it looked like they were, I don't know if they were like landscape companies or folks who are actually helping folks think through this. Can you speak about some of those organizations that are helping, local homeowners figure out how to do this at their homes, and what does that look
How
like?
to do,
Yeah.
how to
Well,
be
if
eco
yeah,
landscaping.
yeah, are there talk about some of the organizations that are helping homeowners think through this and um
Sure. Well, for one, it's Perfect Earth Project, the one I started.
Mhm.
We have a website, I put it in the chat, that gives a lot of tips. But if you live on the South Fork of Long Island, we have a guy who will come to your house for an hour for free. We do that with backing from the Peconic Land Trust. So he will walk through your property and talk to you about all of the ecological opportunities that are there. Most of the time it will save you money,
Yep.
and it will, we've gotten, we've been doing it now for about 2 years, and people are just, he's a wonderful guy. Tim Wheeler is his name, and everybody just loves it. And people stop me on the street now and say, oh, Tim came over, he showed me things about my property that I had no idea, and it's just wonderful, and everything's growing. And so that's really nice. I wish we could afford to have a Tim in every town in the United States, but we don't. But Homegrown National Park, Doug Talmey's organization, gives out really good advice, and they have a huge audience and are starting to actually create local responses. There's Change Hampton here. There's Rewild Long Island, which is doing excellent work along Long Island. There's the Wild Ones. They're nationwide. They have great chapters. There's chapters in most, accessible to most people. You could also look for Pollinator Pathways. Those are another group that does a lot.
Great.
If you're meaning groups that really have to some extent an opportunity for a local interaction.
Great. Drop that link in one more time to Perfect Earth Project. Well, thank you so much, Edwina. This is awesome. Really. Dar, just if you can unmute, I'm gonna turn it back to
I
you.
just want to say, Edwina, that was fabulous. Thank you so much for all you do all the time. And happy birthday. I hope you get some more celebrating in.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Awesome. And Dar, I'll turn it over to you to introduce Mark.
Okay. Well, Mark and I had a great pleasure to meet him when I was teaching a class about drawdown solutions at the Rogers Memorial Library. And he came all the way over from Riverhead, which people don't do around here, unless you're coming 10 miles, 5 miles, maybe something like that. But he's the kind of guy who came all the way over here. And in his life, he changed his focus. He had been doing, you know what, I forgot, but he went back to school in California and he studied sustainability, and he also studied behavior change and how people do things. And he is a totally committed person to bring us to a place in our life and the life of the future that we have created sustainability. And I love the term that he uses for himself, right? This is really good. Climate disruption effectivist, not activist. He's an effectivist because he gets things done. He's been the president and on the North Fork Environmental Council for years and years and years. He's also on the Sustainability Committee for the Township of Riverhead. If there's anything on the East End related to the environment, he's on there. And I am so glad that you've come with us tonight and are willing to share what you know about the mini forest revolution, because it's such an exciting new concept. Thank you, Mark.
Yeah, thanks so much, Star. And thank you, sure, Mark and Tom, for the invitation and the opportunity to talk tonight. One of the first thing I'd like to say that the mission of the North Fork Environmental Council is to provide our members, our community, and our representatives with the tools, the experience, the science, and the guidance necessary for them to make informed decisions about our people and our environment. So it's not just the environment. Let me pop this, see if I can share my screen here.
I want to make you the host, so we're gonna.
Yeah, that'll be exciting.
There you go. You should see a button. There you go. Great.
Are you seeing anything? Good.
Yes, we got it.
Oh, okay. All right. Let me see if I can go to slide view. Did that work?
We still see it with the your notes on there, so you just might need
All
to.
right. So let me try something exciting here. High tech, baby.
If you click
Hold on. How about now?
There you go. Perfect.
Ha. Yeah, and I've got to speak to the idea of Zoom as well. We had the pandemic and it was horrible. But one of the wonderful things that came out of it is the ability to do video conferencing. I'm working for a fellow in India right now. I'm doing an educational series around nature-based solutions, and that would never have happened if it weren't for the necessary technology that came about from COVID. So, and I'm seeing Len Green here. We've been writing for the East End Beacon for years, and I've never met the man. So, just to make the world a little stranger. So there are nature-based solutions and there are technology-based solutions. I know, Dar, you and I have worked with energy and retrofitting and all that kind of stuff, but I'm working on the nature-based side of this now completely. And one of the two of the things that go along with bioregioning, especially knowing that we live in the same peconic bioregion here, is to know that we've got an option for nature cools and we've got an option for slow the flow with water. So I'll talk about those separately some other time, but tonight we're going to be talking about nature cools, and one of the tools that we would be using is the Miyawaki forest. Now, Akira Miyawaki was a botanist in Japan and very disturbed about all of the industrialization and commoditization of land and the destruction of forests there. So in 1992, he went to the Earth Summit in Rio de Janeiro and told the people there that this is really important, but I have a solution. We've got a horrible thing going on, but I want to help restore native forests in urban and industrial areas. So that's his contribution. It was a little outside the realm of normal for a while, but now we're realizing that it's a very, very easy thing. No, it's not easy. I'll take that all back. It is a very impactful, very effective thing. And Daria, you'd mentioned the effectivist part of this thing, so that an activist stops one pipeline and an effectivist makes them obsolete. So what we're trying to do is get into the idea that we can do things, especially with crew, that we can do things that make a difference without any politicization, without anything. The science is already there. It's fun. And here we are. Did that already? Purpose of the series. What we're talking about, and especially, I'm so glad to see people from around the country and possibly around the world that I'm working with now, that we see that these nature-based solutions are applied at a bioregional level, no matter where you are. I just found out that there are 12 bioregions in India. I can't name them all yet, but we're going to get there. And all of these have global impacts because there's millions and millions and millions of people doing this kind of work at the same time all over the world. So, of course, with the drawdown framework, we wanted to reverse climate change. And how we're doing that here tonight is by restoring and regenerating planetary systems. And I think I'm going to dump slide 10 because Edwina went through the whole list of all the tools and the groups and the people who are doing this already, which is great. I think having the same list of the same resources is wonderful, and that has to do with sharing and bringing bioregional efforts together so that we are talking from the Peconic bioregion with people now in the Chesapeake Bay region. In their bioregion, they've got an estuary, they've got the same problems we have with nitrogen coming from their homes and so on, fertilizer and the rest. So I'm seeing young people tonight. So this Miyawaki mini forest would be a good campus project. And also for adults, it's designed for community building. Now, the picture here that you see, what's the difference between a regular forest and the Miyawaki forest? That Miyawaki forest over that, what is it, a torii? Tor? What is that structure there? That is only about 20 years old. So these are not things that are going to take 100 or 200 or 300 years to become climax forests. There are over 200 of these around the United States right now. I think 7 of them are up in the Boston area. My friends at the Bio for Climate, the Biodiversity for a Livable Climate, are the people who introduced this to me. They've got them in Lexington, up in Boston, and I'm trying to think. There's a couple of really spotlightable ones that are already been around for 3, 4, 5 years and are showing the difference between being started and only a year or two. If you see the graph here, it's not very exciting until about 3 years. And then all of a sudden, the whole thing takes off. It's very densely populated, and we'll get into that in a second. So it solves problems of toxin remediation, which is called phytoremediation. We use plants to take up toxins and poisons. We can use them for shade for heat islands, and they provide food, of course, and homes for all sorts of creatures. And they're cost effective as opposed to a carbon dioxide removal machine. The Germans just came up with one. It was $40 million, and it's costing $1,000, $10,000 a ton to remove carbon dioxide from the air. Well, I've got trees, and they're only like $12, right? You put them in the ground, you wait 3 years, and they're doing the job of millions and millions of dollars worth of stainless steel and concrete and all the rest of this in a built environment. Another thing we want to talk about is contiguous habitat, especially for pollinators and birds and other wildlife. I understand, correct me if I'm wrong, Edwina, that some insects and some birds don't travel more than 500 feet in their entire lifetime. They are born somewhere and they never go further than that. So if you strip out the land around your property over an acre, and maybe the person next door does the same, your 500 feet is gone. So you are not going to have the kind of birds and insects that need to be very local for their lives. Biodiversity is going to help improve our immunity via positive microbial interactions under the ground. They filter airborne pollutants through the canopies. Of course, we're finding more and more, especially after COVID, that green spaces improve the physical and mental well-being of communities. People needed to get out of their apartment. Single people who were just at their wits' end for being home for 6 months or a year. These things help cool city temperatures. They mitigate flooding, again, slow the flow. We'll get into that in future presentations. They capture CO2, of course, and they emit oxygen. And they are a haven for bees and pollinators. They don't need to be sprayed. They don't need to be fertilized. Well, you got to weed them for about a year. You got to water them for 3 years. There's a commitment to making sure that they have enough water for the first 3 seasons. And after that, they're pretty much on their own. You can put one of these into your parking lot and you can see the cutout on the right, the chalk line, and what it looks like before and after. And it's not very impressive. I mean, this is the beginning. And it doesn't even look like a very highly populated mini forest. Whereas the mini forest that I'm seeing being put out, you've got 20 or 30 species, and this may be 30. I don't know them well enough, but you may have 30 species here, and they're all within a few hundred square feet. So you're densely populating, you're getting stuff in there so that the weeds don't have a chance to come in. And one of the exciting things that is coming about is the depave dpave.org. What a great thing. So you go in there with your people with your hammers and your chippers and all the rest, and you dig that asphalt out. It is saleable. There are people who want to grind asphalt to reuse it for roads. So that's part of the circular economy, part of the reuse and recycle. And this is truly recycling. If you're using a material in the same purpose, it's reuse. It's not even recycling, it's reuse. So what you wind up with is a Depave It party, and then you wind up with a Miyawaki forest. And apparently, they didn't need all these parking places. You can start with something that is only 20 parking places large, which is about 400 square feet. You don't need a whole lot more than that to get started. You can go to 1,000, you can go to 3,000 or 10,000, but being too ambitious with something like this, I'll speak from experience, getting too ambitious at the beginning is really it makes things very difficult. So starting small at 2 or 3 or 400 square feet is a great community project. It's great for children. It's great for schools. They could build their own on their property. It cools off a playground, for example, that is completely asphalt. My target is Target. My target is Best Buy. And because we have town codes that require X number of parking places. If you're a restaurant with 100 seats, you need 200 parking places per code. Or if you have Best Buy, and I tell you, you drive through there the week before Christmas, that is never full. And especially with the diminishing of malls now and shopping centers, we're finding more and more opportunity to get projects like this in place to replace the death that's already there. So one of the things that you have to talk about, if you did depave, what's underneath? Death. There is not even soil, it's dirt. So you're going to need to dig out 3 feet going down, and you're going to have to replace it with mulch and compost, and soil testing is required, and there's quite a bit involved. So it's like I wanted to say it was easy, but it's not, right? It's a full-time job for a few people for the first year to get it started. And then your volunteers, I've seen as many as 200 volunteers show up to one of these. And they're little kids, like 2 and 3 year olds, plopping little twig trees into the holes that somebody else dug for them. So it's kind of fun. Um, I would also suggest the town of East Hampton, I'm pretty sure their town square, or is it the village of East Hampton, has a bioswale that they built. And I want to go back through that video because they had a list of who they enlisted to make that happen. And it's exactly the same team, the same kind of people that would make a Miyawaki mini forest happen. All right, so a botanist and a plant a distributor and the Boy Scouts, the Girl Scouts, the Key Club, the Science Club, whatever have you. All right. Edwina, you mentioned all of these things. I stumbled across Less Lawn, More Life for the concept of let's not cut the grass. I'll save myself an hour a week. That's good. If you look for this, another kind of forest or mini forest is a forest for food. And if you want to see the Sisters of St. Joseph over in Brentwood, they've done an amazing job. Their mission is to restore the earth. So this is very, very interesting. And they also provide jobs for young people, at-risk youth in Brentwood, to bring them onto the farm. They've got an organic farm and a CSA, and they've got a farm stand. So they're integrating the social, the economic, and the environmental parts of all of this in one shot. You mentioned Rewild, so I'll skip that. These are the people up in Concord and up in the Boston area, and this is what it looks like. It looks like a lot of people and a lot of shovels and a lot of plants and a lot of soil, and it's a lot of fun. So that's part of the thing. One of these, if you look closely, one of them is at a school, one's across from an airport. One of these is a community garden area. One is for cooling for a co-op or an apartment building. So there are a lot of applications. And Worcester, that's what I was trying to think of. So these are the people who got me started. I will certainly hook you up with Bio for Climate. And there's another group called Sugi that's doing it. And they're all across the world. There are thousands of these around the world now. The United States is late. So I would love, Dar, if I would love to see the North and South Forks get one each going so we can get started. We'd be the first in New York that I know of. We'd be good competition for Boston. So let's talk about that. The how of this, we've talked about the why, the what, the who, when, where. The how of this, if you look for the Sugi project, the little URL is up there. There's a soil survey involved. There's a species survey involved, soil engineering, plantation. And I want to talk about the species really quickly. There's a lot of dialogue going on right now. I don't want to say arguments, but there's a discussion about the best that we can do in a property like this. And it's 500 years ago because that's what the place looked like before we got to it and put the tulip trees and the arborvitaes in. So there's another discussion about the species that go in. Be prepared. There's a lot of discussion about the species that we pick. I want to ask our people and crew just quickly keep this in mind. If you had 2 minutes to directly address every resident of the Peconic bioregion, those who live on the water and beyond, about climate change and the actions they could take to make a difference to protect themselves and their neighbors, what would you tell them? You need your elevator speech. All right, so I'm going to encourage that. We went through all this. The libraries are picking up on reuse and repair cafes, town committees. All of our green teams have been involved with composting over the last 4 years now, together as a bioregional movement. And we've got a clam show. What is it? The oysters on the half shell. What's the name of the? There's a movement now with the Kiwanis and the Scouts, and they're pulling oyster shells out of the restaurants, and we're putting them up at the town transfer stations and drying them out, and then crushing them, and then bringing them over to Cornell to make part of the SPAT program grow. So we're starting to see the circularity of all of these composting and trees and all the rest of it start to burgeon, as they say in France. That's all I got.
It's great, Mark. Thank you. Let's open up some questions for Mark. And you can chat those in or do a hand raise.
I'm going to take a video of all these little claps. This is great. Thank you for your rapt attention, everyone. I really appreciate getting out to the public in general and getting these ideas out and having people make an action out of these ideas, because without the action, the ideas are just that.
I'll go for a question. So I'm on the West Coast. I haven't seen too much of that around the West Coast. Do you know of anything going on in Berkeley or San Francisco?
Berkeley sounds right. I'd have to look, to tell you the truth. I haven't done the actual list. I don't know if Sugi has the list or not. The Bio for Climate, it's BIO, the number 4 climate.org, has a list now in their compendium that is starting to map all these. And I would like to see, we've been invited to put these on Doug Tallamy's homegrown national park as well. So we can put these on any pollinator garden, or Miyawaki forest would be eligible to be put on his map. I encourage you.
Mark, I love the idea of the parking lot. And I think we have a lot of students now have done crew as a service project, and they're bringing crew now. They're starting crew chapters at their high schools. And I just
Excellent.
like the forest is something too where they could pass that on to the underclassmen right as they graduate through it. So it seems like a perfect project for our students. So that's definitely something that I wanna push with I know we've got quite a few students on here. That's definitely something I want to encourage folks to think about. What a great
Excellent tie-in. Thank you, Mark.
Yeah, what a great project for a student.
Mm-hmm. Oh, Len Green, he's going to attack me now.
No, not at all. That was really wonderful. And thanks. Really great chat. Happy to meet you finally.
You too, Len.
At least digitally. This is very interesting for me because I've been thinking about getting the East Hampton High School to attempt such a project. And I really wouldn't know where to begin. but I thought that they have a lot of open space. There's already a Rewild Long Island summer student program that we could get engaged with this. So I'd love to talk to you about how you think we might get started. I know that New York State, for example, gives free trees to school projects or to schools. So the question is how we get the right mix of trees and so on. But yeah, this is a great project for young people and for spreading the message about the usefulness of trees and the whole, for all of us and for our whole system. So yeah, I'd love to get a chance to talk with you about how we might get started in East Hampton.
I would love that. And also, Len, like I mentioned, I think it might be the Village Square that has the bioswale in it.
It's the Village, East Hampton Village there are 2 bioswales. And that's also another project that Rewild helps. We helps maintain the bioswales. The bioswales are actually planted by Surfrider Foundation.
Right. Okay. Yeah, so I want to go through that video again. They did a presentation. It was pretty long, but I want to pull out the list of people that they brought together in order to make that happen. So it's a real good template, and I think we could just do it again, just copy and paste the team build, if nothing else, and do a Miyawaki forest without that much more trouble.
Oh, great.
Leonard, I was in an appointment today with Dana Stern, Dr. Dana Stern, in
Yes.
September, whose son Wiley, I think, is in your school.
Well, I don't work at the school or teach at the school.
Okay.
So I don't
Anyway,
recognize the name.
he's
Yeah.
a kid that I was thinking today would probably really like to bring crew to their sustainability committee. And it would be really nice segue to bring these two things together at the same time. So I'd love to be in touch with you about how that might go on. Yeah.
Love it.
Well, great. Yeah, I'd love that too. Let's see. Well, I'll just put my address in the chat. Not
Okay.
take up any more time. So thank you.
I'm wondering if Edwina, you might have some thoughts for us since you've been into planting for your entire life. How might you give advice to somebody doing mini forest?
I think that taking a page from Rewild and from what Mark said, it's all about the maintenance. And so don't go into it without really being absolutely sure, because Rewild says they will not give you the plants to do a planting if you can't prove you've got 3 years of care that you can assure. And that's really it, because everything's gonna, nature doesn't like a vacuum, and you've basically created a space where you're encouraging plants to grow. So you're gonna get the plants you want, but a lot of the plants you don't. And so everybody, it's a wonderful opportunity. I think the Bioswale Project has done that, plus the one at the town hall, for people who want to learn about gardening, to garden alongside experienced gardeners. So you can bring in some master gardeners from the cooperative extension, but that's how you learn to garden, is what's a weed and what's not, what do I keep? That's like gardening is all about what gets to stay and what doesn't get to stay. That's like really all there is to it.
Yeah. Thank you.
Great. Great. Well, I have a few closing remarks for everyone. Would love to share and really want to thank Mark and Edwina for all the information and just absolutely phenomenal. I learned a ton, so so glad to have the time with you and have everyone here at Carbon Crew. And we're fortunate enough to have the founders, Dar Riley, Sheila Pfeiffer, and Joe DiVincenzi here with us, and Tom and Lois from our board. And so it's great to have everyone here. We do these office hours each month. And it's just an opportunity for us to take a deep dive into a topic and get like-minded folks together. And it really is just such a part of what we're trying to do, is inspire people to take action. So I appreciate everyone being here tonight. And coming up in December, we have a really another special office hour, which I would love to invite you to. At Carbon Crew, we use the work of an Australian documentarian named Damon Gameau, who did the documentary 2040. He has a new film coming out called Future Council, and he's going to do we're going to screen it over Zoom on December 3rd, Tuesday, December 3rd, and he's going to do it exclusively for us at Crew. It's like, as far as I know, it's the first U.S. Um, uh, screening that's going to be on with us. He's in Australia, so we have this exclusive screening of Future Council coming up Tuesday, December 3rd, 8 p.m. So there's a link in.
Hey, Mark, I just want to say it's December 2nd.
Yeah,
December
Oh,
2nd.
sorry, it is December
mm,
2nd. It's December 3rd.
yeah.
Damon, I'm talking in Damon's time because he's in
Yeah.
Australia. So thank you. It is December 2nd. You'll see an invite in the chat. Thanks, Sheila. And you can also scan there to register, but we'd love to have you. Damon will be doing a Q&A, and it should be really, really awesome. And the other piece that I would love to share with you all is we're hoping to inspire folks like yourselves. And I know a lot of the students that are on, we have another path for you. We're working with you, and you can bring Crew to your school. But particularly for the adults on the call, we would love for you to consider starting your own Crew. And so what I'll put in the chat, you can also scan this here, but I'll actually drop a link for you. If you want to learn how to do that, I will drop a link. You can book a session, and we can kind of walk through exactly how to do it. But we would love to have you start a Crew. You can do this with your family, with your friends, and the whole concept is that it's all about creating personal climate action plans and taking action and doing the things that, if we all do them, can really promote change. And so we would love to work with you. So you'll see a link in there, and you can book a time at your convenience and can walk you through the process. It's super simple. It's also really fun, and it has the power to make a lot of change. So I just wanted to add those two things, and then Dara, I'll turn it back over to you for any closing remarks. But would love
Well,
to.
I want to say, Mark and Edwina, thank you so much for your incredible inspiration and your wisdom. And this is really going to make a difference in our lives. And to those of you who are in the audience, do know that you really are the most important people in the world. So let's take their advice. And I will see you in a month. And Mark, I'll talk to you sooner than that.
Love it. Love it. Good night, everyone. Thank you so
Good
much.
Len, I'll call you tomorrow.
Bye, all.